Have you ever felt that sharp sting when someone disrespected you? When a person looked down on you, dismissed your words, or subtly mocked you in front of others? That instant, that split second when your pride burns and your chest tightens, is far more important than most people realize, because that is the exact moment where power is either taken or reclaimed. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. He saw disrespect not as an emotional wound, but as a calculated move in a psychological game, one that reveals who truly holds control. Most people respond to disrespect with emotion. They rush to defend themselves, to prove their worth, to show they are not weak. But the truth is, every defensive reaction only feeds the other person's power. Every word you speak in anger is energy you hand away. The one who stays calm, who does not explain or justify, begins to rise above the situation entirely. Because silence, in moments of tension, is not weakness, it's strategy. You've probably been there before. Someone tested your limits at work, in a relationship, maybe even in front of an audience, and you felt that urge to react, to show that you won't be disrespected. But what if the real strength isn't in reacting at all? What if the true display of dominance lies in your ability to remain still, unbothered, and unreadable? Machiavelli would say that in those moments, the person who controls their emotions controls the battlefield. The world might tell you to stand up for yourself, but Machiavelli's wisdom whispers something colder, more dangerous. Control yourself first, then decide if the other deserves a response at all. Because disrespect isn't random. It's often deliberate, a social experiment to measure how much someone can push you before you break. Every test reveals your boundaries. Every reaction teaches people what they can get away with. So when you respond emotionally, you train others to keep testing you. But when your reaction is calm, measured, even ruthless in its silence, something shifts. The power dynamic reverses. They start to question themselves. They start to respect what they cannot manipulate. The next time someone crosses that invisible line, remember this: the moment of disrespect is not just a conflict. It's an invitation to prove who you are. Whether you rise above or fall beneath depends entirely on how you respond in that first second of tension, because that instant reveals your mastery or your weakness. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover next will completely shift how you handle disrespect forever. The ruthless response Machiavelli teaches isn't about revenge, it's about transformation. And once you understand it, you'll never see disrespect the same way again. If what you've heard so far resonates with you, if you've ever faced that silent test of disrespect and felt something shift inside, you're not alone. These moments are universal. They touch every one of us, no matter how strong, confident, or composed we try to appear. And sometimes, just recognizing the power hidden inside that silence changes everything. I want you to take a moment and think about the last time someone disrespected you. How did you respond? Did you react in anger, or did you stay calm and observe? Share your experience in the comments below, not only because I want to know your story, but because your words might help someone else who's going through the same battle right now. The comment section isn't just a space for opinions, it's where a community of sharp, strategic minds can connect and grow together. If this message has already made you reflect, if it's made you see power, control, and emotion in a different light, then make sure to like this video. It's a simple gesture, but it tells me that these ideas matter to you, that this kind of deep, psychological insight deserves to reach more people who need it. Every like pushes this message further into the world, where it can challenge how others think about power and self-control. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel. This space, Legacy Wisdom, was created for minds like yours, people who want to master themselves, understand others, and rise above manipulation, fear, and chaos. Here we explore the dark and the profound sides of human nature through the eyes of thinkers like Machiavelli, Jung, and Nietzsche. So if you want to keep sharpening your mind and strengthening your inner power, hit that subscribe button and stay close, because what comes next will go even deeper into the cold logic and timeless strategy that Machiavelli used to turn disrespect into dominance. Stay with me, because once you see what's coming, you'll never react to disrespect the same way again. Most people believe disrespect comes from arrogance or ignorance, but Machiavelli saw something far more calculated beneath it. Disrespect is rarely accidental. It's a quiet experiment, a test disguised as emotion. When someone disrespects you, What they're really doing is gathering data about you. They want to see your limits to measure how far they can step before you push back. It's not just personal, it's psychological. And this is where most people lose the game before it even begins. Think about it. When someone mocks you, interrupts you, or diminishes your value in front of others, they're not simply expressing dislike. They're evaluating your mental strength. If you react with anger, they know you're easy to provoke. If you over-explain, they see you crave validation. But if you stay calm, if your silence carries weight, they're forced to question their assumptions. They hesitate, because unpredictability is power. Machiavelli understood that the first rule of control is to remain unreadable. In the hidden dynamics of power, every interaction becomes a negotiation for respect. People observe not what you say, but how you carry yourself when challenged. This is the truth most never see. Disrespect is not random chaos. It's a mirror reflecting your inner discipline. The moment you take things personally, you give away authority. But when you interpret it as strategy, everything changes. You stop reacting to insults and start decoding intentions. You shift from emotional to analytical, from wounded to powerful. Now I want to go even deeper into this idea, because understanding the psychology behind disrespect reveals how easily most people are manipulated without even realizing it. Every human relationship, whether personal or professional, contains a silent hierarchy. Those who can provoke emotion control it. Those who can remain detached rise above it. This is why emotional mastery is not a luxury, it's survival. Your calm presence, your ability to stay composed while others unravel, creates a gravitational pull. It makes people respect you without understanding why. The truth is, no one gives you respect. You train them to. Every response, every gesture, every word teaches others how to treat you. And when you finally grasp this, you stop demanding respect and start embodying it. People feel it before they even realize it. That's when the balance of power shifts quietly in your favor, and the same people who once tested your boundaries begin to guard theirs around you. If this idea strikes a chord with you, write it in the comments. I choose control over reaction, because that simple decision might be the turning point in your entire journey toward inner power. The emotional trap is the invisible cage that keeps most people powerless. It begins the moment someone triggers your pride, and without thinking, you take the bait. You feel the heat rising in your chest, the urge to defend yourself, to prove your worth. That's the moment your energy shifts from controlled to chaotic. You think you're standing up for yourself, but in reality, you've stepped into a game you cannot win. Machiavelli warned that emotion is the tool of the manipulator. Whoever controls your emotions controls you, and the moment you react, they know exactly which button to press next time. This is why emotional control is not just discipline, it's defense. The more reactive you are, the easier you are to predict. People learn your weaknesses by observing your reactions. The loud one, the defensive one, the easily offended one, they all become easy targets. But the person who remains calm under fire becomes unreadable, untouchable. Silence confuses attackers because it denies them emotional fuel. It forces them to face themselves, and most people can't handle that reflection. We live in a world addicted to reaction. Every argument online, every heated conversation, every public confrontation, people crave validation disguised as justice. But power doesn't scream, it studies. Power listens. Power waits. When you stop reacting to disrespect, you gain something most people never experience: inner authority. It's the kind of strength that doesn't need to announce itself, because it radiates through presence alone. That's why Machiavelli said, "He who cannot control his emotions will always serve someone who can." The moment you let anger dictate your words, you become predictable, and predictability is the death of power. Now I want to go even deeper into this truth, because escaping the emotional trap is not about becoming cold or detached. It's about transformation. It's the ability to channel emotion into clarity, to use anger as information instead of ammunition. When you feel that impulse to react, that's your opportunity to rise above instinct and act with precision. The world belongs to those who can think while others are feeling, and the more you practice this discipline, the less anyone can control you. If this resonates with you, write it in the comments. I control my emotions, they don't control me. Because the moment you truly believe that, every test of disrespect becomes another chance to prove your strength in silence. The most dangerous moment in any confrontation isn't when someone speaks, it's when they stop. the pause. That brief silence that stretches just long enough to make everyone else uncomfortable. Most people rush to fill that space with words, excuses, or explanations. But the Machiavellian mind knows that silence is not emptiness, it's control. In that pause, something powerful happens. The emotional current that once belonged to the aggressor shifts toward you. Suddenly, they start to wonder what you're thinking, what you'll do next, and whether they've gone too far. That uncertainty is the birthplace of respect. Machiavelli understood that silence could be sharper than any insult. When you hold your composure instead of reacting, you force the other person into reflection. You make them confront the weight of their own behavior. The pause is not passive, it's psychological warfare disguised as calm. In that stillness, you observe their tone, their posture, the micro-expressions that reveal intent. You study the situation like a strategist studies a battlefield, choosing whether to engage, withdraw, or let the enemy destroy themselves through overexposure. This kind of pause takes strength. It goes against every instinct trained into us by ego and pride, but that's exactly why it's so effective. Most people fear silence because it reveals truth. It strips away the noise and exposes who is truly in control, the one who can remain still while others grow. Restless possesses something greater than dominance: clarity. That clarity allows you to decide your next move not out of emotion, but out of calculation. Now I want to go even deeper into this idea, because mastering the Machiavellian pause isn't about becoming distant or emotionless. It's about creating space between stimulus and response. That space is where wisdom lives. It's where you shift from being reactive to being intentional. Every second of silence is a declaration that your emotions are yours to command, not to be exploited. You're not ignoring the other person, you're analyzing them, letting their own words reveal their weakness. And when you finally do speak, your voice carries weight, because it comes from control, not chaos. If this truth speaks to you, write it in the comments. My silence is my power. Because once you learn to master the pause, you no longer react to disrespect. You make others regret ever trying to provoke you. The cold response is not born from cruelty, it's born from power. It's the ability to face disrespect, manipulation, or provocation without letting your emotions become a weapon against yourself. When you respond with calm indifference, you deny the other person the emotional victory they were searching for. They wanted chaos. You gave them composure. They wanted drama. You gave them silence. That quiet strength disorients people because it exposes their dependency on your reaction. And that's when the balance of power, quietly, shifts in your favor. Indifference is misunderstood. Many see it as apathy, but it's actually precision. It means choosing your battles with strategy, not impulse. A cold response doesn't mean you don't care. It means you refuse to play their game. It's emotional discipline disguised as detachment. When you speak, your tone is steady, your words measured, your presence unwavering. You're not trying to win the argument. You're demonstrating that the argument is beneath you. That subtle display of restraint sends a stronger message than any outburst ever could. This kind of emotional control has a psychological impact. When someone tries to provoke you and fails, they begin to question their own power. They replay the moment, searching for weakness, but find none. They feel small, uncertain, even intimidated. That's the effect of cold composure. It's not loud, but it's unforgettable. Machiavelli understood that power isn't about being feared for your aggression. It's about being respected for your control. Indifference, when used correctly, becomes a mirror that reflects the other person's instability while highlighting your strength. Now I want to go even deeper into this truth, because learning to stay cold in the face of disrespect is a form of transformation. It's the moment you stop being reactive and start becoming strategic. You begin to understand that silence can speak louder than defense, and distance can punish more than confrontation. Every calm response builds an invisible authority around you, a kind of psychological armor that no insult can pierce. Over time, people stop testing you, not because you fought them, but because they realize you cannot be touched. If this message resonates with you, write it in the comments. My calm is my strength, because when your silence carries confidence instead of fear, you no longer chase respect, you command it. Strategic retaliation is not about satisfying a wounded ego, it's about engineering outcomes. Machiavelli taught that effectiveness beats virtue when your position, reputation, or future is at stake. The moment someone disrespects you, you do not need an immediate vindication, you need a plan. Immediate retaliation is emotional theater. Strategic retaliation is choreography, a deliberate sequence of moves designed to maximize consequence while minimizing risk. It begins with assessment. Who crossed the line? What are their motives? How public was the affront? And what resources do you control that can shift the outcome? These are not vindictive questions. They are tactical ones. When you treat retaliation as a set of decisions rather than a burst of feeling, you transform resentment into leverage. Timing is the most valuable currency in this game. Reacting on impulse hands your opponent a role in your story. The instigator. Waiting gives you control of the narrative. It lets you gather information, align allies, and shape circumstances so that when you act, the result is disproportionate and unambiguous. Think of it as strategic economics. Spend patience now to collect returns later. The payoff is not merely revenge, it is correction of incentives. The goal is to make crossing you costly enough that others reconsider testing the boundary. That is how deterrence is built. Equally important is proportionality. Ruthlessness does not mean reckless escalation. It means applying a calibrated response that solves the problem without creating new vulnerabilities. Use the tools you have: reputation management, legal avenues, professional influence, or quiet withdrawal coupled with opportunity creation to produce outcomes that matter. Let the result speak louder than rhetoric. When your opponent realizes the consequence was inevitable and precise, respect follows not out of fear alone, but out of recognition of competence. Finally, understand the backstage mechanics. Strategic retaliation reshapes your environment over time. It trains people, alters expectations, and clarifies boundaries. It is part of a broader journey of transformation where decisions become signals, not just reactions. Mastery here requires patience, resolve, and the humility to choose effectiveness over spectacle. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject. Reputation is not vanity, it is strategic infrastructure. In the Machiavellian frame, your name precedes you and acts as a protective shell that reduces the number of times you must fight. When people believe you are someone who cannot be disrespected without consequence, they economize their risks around you. That perception becomes a form of deterrence. It changes incentives, alters behavior, and shapes decisions before any clash even occurs. Building that reputation is not accidental. It's a long game made of small, deliberate moves that accumulate into an unmistakable signal. Consistency matters more than spectacle. Quiet, repeated demonstrations of competence, integrity where it matters, and calibrated responses to breaches of respect craft a public narrative that functions like armor. You are not performing kindness for applause. You are engineering certainty in the minds of others so they understand the cost of testing you. Reputation also functions as leverage in backstage negotiations and public encounters alike. People who respect your boundaries in private will defend or hesitate in public. Allies form around those who are reliable and decisive. The impact is exponential. One well-managed incident can ripple through networks, shifting how dozens or hundreds perceive you and changing the probability of future attacks. The journey toward an untouchable reputation requires decisions that sometimes feel counterintuitive, choosing restraint over spectacle, choosing strategic retaliation over petty revenge, and investing in long-term credibility instead of short-term wins. There are revelations along the way. You learn that power is less about the immediate thrill of being feared and more about the slow transformation of how people calculate you in their minds. Your reputation can be cultivated through narrative control, visible competence, and the occasional, precisely timed consequence that teaches without melodrama. It is equally important to repair and protect reputation when it is threatened. Swift, proportionate action and transparent correction of errors maintain the shield's integrity. Reputation is not a static badge, but a living asset that requires tending, decisions, and an understanding of the unseen mechanics that govern social respect. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject. Detachment is not indifference, it is liberation. It is the quiet confidence that no opinion, praise, or insult can shake your inner balance. In Machiavellian psychology, this emotional distance is not weakness. It is the highest form of control. The person who needs nothing from others cannot be manipulated because every attempt to provoke them falls into emptiness. Detachment transforms you from a participant in other people's games into the architect of your own. When you stop needing approval, you stop negotiating your worth. And when your sense of worth becomes internal, every interaction shifts. You are no longer reacting to others, you are directing the atmosphere around you. This calm self-sufficiency unnerves people. They expect emotional cues, anger, eagerness, insecurity, to navigate social hierarchies. But when faced with someone who remains composed, unreadable and free of validation seeking, they lose orientation. That loss of psychological footing is power. It silently commands respect without demanding it. The detached mind observes rather than absorbs. It studies tone, body language and motive, but does not internalize judgment. In that detachment you gain clarity, a rare kind of intelligence that allows you to choose your responses strategically, not emotionally. This state of control is cultivated through discipline. It means resisting the constant pull to prove yourself, to be understood, to be liked. It requires sitting with discomfort instead of reacting to it. Every time you resist explaining yourself to those who have already decided what to think, your detachment grows stronger. It is the slow construction of a fortress within. You begin to sense that peace is not the absence of conflict, but the mastery of self amid conflict. That is the real dominance, one that needs no display. Now I want to go even deeper into this concept, because detachment is also the doorway to transformation. When your emotional state is no longer a reflection of other people's opinions, you gain something most never achieve: true freedom of mind. You can move through chaos with precision, through insult with silence, through temptation with vision. You become unshakable, not because you are emotionless, but because your emotions obey you, not the world. If this truth resonates with you, write in the comments, "I am calm, I'm in control." Because the moment you stop chasing approval, the world starts to chase your respect. Real transformation doesn't happen in the noise of confrontation. It happens in the quiet decision you make afterward. It's when you finally realize that no reaction will ever earn you real respect, and no explanation will ever convince the small-minded to see your worth. That's the pivot point, the moment you stop living reactively and begin shaping your responses with purpose. Machiavelli would call this the evolution from servant to strategist. It's not about becoming colder, it's about becoming sharper, more deliberate, more self-possessed. True power is internal. It starts in thought before it manifests in behavior. This transformation is subtle at first. You start noticing how often people act from insecurity, how they disguise their need for control with arrogance or mockery. But instead of taking it personally, you begin to analyze it. Every insult becomes information. Every slight an opportunity to test your composure. You no longer crave to be understood, because understanding from others no longer defines your identity. You learn that respect isn't something given. It's something sensed in the way you carry yourself, in the way your silence holds authority stronger than words. Over time, this internal shift becomes visible. People feel it before they can explain it. They speak differently around you, measure their tone, weigh their words, not because you demanded it, but because your presence has changed. Your calm, your patience, your ability to remain unaffected create a gravitational pull. You start influencing not by force, but by energy. That's the hidden truth Machiavelli grasped. Transformation is not about domination. It's about mastering your own reactions until others are forced to adapt to your rhythm. Now I want to go even deeper into this idea, because this internal transformation marks the beginning of a new kind of journey. The more you detach from the need to prove yourself, the more strategic your decisions become. You start seeing people not as threats, but as patterns. You anticipate, observe, and maneuver with quiet precision. What once triggered you now informs you. What once hurt you now refines you. This is the turning point where power becomes elegance, where self-control becomes your greatest weapon. If this message resonates with you, write in the comments, "I choose transformation over reaction." Because the real change doesn't happen when the world respects you. It begins the moment you decide to respect yourself enough to stop explaining who you are. Disrespect is inevitable because the world constantly measures and tests you. Every interaction, at work, in relationships, even among friends, contains subtle power exchanges. Someone will doubt you, mock you, interrupt you, or attempt to challenge your authority. You can't escape it, but you can choose how you stand in it. That choice determines everything. Weakness isn't defined by losing a confrontation, it's defined by losing control of yourself. The moment you react emotionally, you hand over your power to the very person who wanted to provoke you. Machiavelli understood that control is not about domination of others, it's about domination of self. The calm mind rules the room because it cannot be manipulated. Every insult, every attempt to disrespect you, is an invitation to evolve. It's a test of your discipline, your emotional control, and your strategic awareness. You can see it as an attack or as training. Every time you resist the urge to react, you strengthen the part of you that leads. You become colder, yes, but not in the sense of being heartless. You grow colder in clarity, sharper in focus, quieter in power. You begin to observe how others lose themselves in emotion, how they expose their insecurities through anger or pride, and you realize something profound. Power doesn't need to shout. Power speaks through precision. Machiavelli's greatest lesson is not about cruelty, it's about awareness. He believed that life is a constant negotiation of strength and perception. To survive, you must learn to think before you feel, to calculate before you act. Emotion clouds strategy. Silence clears it. The person who pauses before responding already holds the upper hand, because reaction is predictable, but calculation is dangerous. When people can't predict you, they fear misjudging you. That fear becomes respect. True power then is quiet and deliberate. It doesn't rush to prove, it doesn't beg to be seen, and it never explains itself to the unworthy. It's the steady, collected presence of someone who knows their value and doesn't need validation to confirm it. When you master this mindset, you stop participating in petty games. You stop chasing approval and start commanding it through your composure. You don't respond to disrespect. You redefine it by rising above it. This is what Machiavelli meant when he taught that greatness belongs to those who can rule their own instincts. Now I want to go even deeper into this truth, because the lesson of Machiavelli isn't only about defense, it's about transformation. When you refuse to let emotion dictate your strategy, you move from victim to strategist, from reactive to deliberate, from ordinary to untouchable. You start navigating life like a game of chess, seeing 3 moves ahead instead of getting lost in the emotion of the moment. Every insult becomes a signal, every challenge a lesson, every setback a test of patience. This is how power evolves, from chaos to control, from noise to silence, from reaction to calculation. In time, people will sense the change in you. They'll feel that your presence carries weight, that your words have purpose, and that your silence holds meaning. You won't need to demand respect, it will be given, and the same world that once tried to test you will begin to tread carefully around you, because they'll realize something. You're no longer the same. You've crossed from emotional to strategic, from fragile to formidable. If this message awakens something in you, the desire to respond to life with calm strength instead of emotion, then you're already becoming what Machiavelli called untouchable. Subscribe to Legacy Wisdom and keep evolving your mind into one that no one can manipulate, control, or disrespect again, because in a world full of reaction, your composure is your crown, and your silence is your weapon. If you made it all the way here, it probably means something in this message spoke to you. Maybe it reminded you of a moment when you stayed calm instead of reacting, or maybe it showed you the kind of strength you've always had inside but didn't fully recognize until now. That's what this channel is about, turning moments of weakness into moments of clarity and using psychology and strategy to grow stronger from within. If this lesson resonated with you, hit that like button. It helps more than you think, and it tells me these conversations matter to you as much as they matter to me. And if you're new here, subscribe to Legacy Wisdom so you can keep evolving your mind with ideas that challenge, sharpen, and empower you every week. This space was built for people who think deeply, act strategically, and choose self-mastery over chaos. Before you go, let me know in the comments that you made it to the end. Just write, "This message was for me. I read every one of them." And it's always powerful to see who's walking this same path of inner strength and control. And if you want to keep this momentum going, there's a video right here that dives even deeper into the mindset of Machiavelli and the dark psychology of power. Click it and keep the journey going. I'll see you there.